Hello, my name is Zorina Gallis. I am the Chief of Vascular Biology and Hypertension at the Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute at the National Institute of Health. I would like to summarize for you the content of the presentation I just gave at the International Academy of Cardiology annual scientific sessions in 2015 that took place in Vancouver, Canada. The title of my presentation was The Secret Supremacy of Small Blood Vessels, an Enduring Puzzle in Cardiovascular Research, and speaking about research gaps and opportunities. The reason I chose this topic is because we believe small blood vessels are very important in both health and disease in connection to cardiovascular system and the whole body. One may ask immediately, what do we mean by small blood vessels? And what I mean is looking at the smallest arteries, which are also called arterioles, capillaries, and the smallest vein or venules. Why do I think this is worth bringing up? Several facts show that small blood vessels, in spite of being small, are very important in health. Basically, the majority of blood tissue exchanges happen at the level of small blood vessels. Targeting of various organs via blood occurs also in correlation to the way these small blood vessels handle signals. They can sense, integrate, and respond to a myriad of signals, both immediately, so giving short-term effects, as well as long-term, such as being affected by epigenetic changes and changing the function of the various organs. Now, in disease, some of the organs already have been recognized of being targeted by the small blood vessel disease, and one of the conditions some people are aware of is small blood vessel disease of the heart, or also coronary microangiopathy. The problem is that this disease is actually not widely recognized, and while it's treatable, if untreated, can lead to catastrophic cardiovascular events. In other organs, the recognition of the importance of small blood vessel disease is just emerging. One of them is the brain, and it has been recently noticed that in the brain, most of the effects of vascular cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's can be traced back to small blood vessel disease. So in other organs, we have also examples. So the natural question is, why don't we know more about small blood vessel disease function and malfunction? One of the major problems small blood vessels have is their size. Because they are small, they have been hard to notice and investigate, and remain hard to investigate. So small blood vessels, first of all, have a size problem. The second major issue that I think explains the gaps in this field is the complexity of the small blood vessels. Once you go beyond the deceptively simple nature of small blood vessels, you can see both at the cellular and molecular level that they are actually fairly complicated. And this complexity is related to their function in various organs. So going back to the smallest structural principle of blood vessels, which is the endothelium, which, by the way, is the inner layer that covers the cardiovascular system throughout the body. So from the largest vessel to the smallest vessel, the cardiovascular system has an endothelium. The endothelium of the very small blood vessels, the capillaries, can be extremely specialized based on their location and function. So there are several types that include continuous endothelial cells, fenestrated endothelial cells, or even discontinuous endothelial cells that go from being extremely tight, such as in the brain, to being extremely open to transfer of materials between tissue and blood, including whole cells, such as in the liver. In addition, you can imagine that such different blood vessels will synthesize and respond in a myriad of different ways to the same stimulus. When we look at pathology, we see this complexity being reflected by the fact that the same systemic disease, such as hypertension, affects very differently large blood vessels, where we are all familiar with the hyperplastic lesion of hypertension. It affects very differently small blood vessels disease. In small blood vessels disease, you can find all kinds of hyaline changes and necrotizing changes of the small blood vessels, and you can find that some of these specific presentation of the pathology of small blood vessels is associated with the organ where pathology is being investigated. So first you have systemic diseases that affect small blood vessels differently depending on organ. Then you also have the same organ presenting different types of changes. So we are really astounded by the complexity of the small blood vessels. So related to this, I'm going to highlight the third big problem that I think small blood vessel research has, and that is knowledge fragmentation. Because of the extreme complexity of the system, we all tend to live our lives in knowledge silos. That means most of us are trained in a different specialty, live our professional life working in cardiology, or maybe in neurology, or maybe in nephrology. And rarely we meet together either in terms of a professional association or even meetings such as these. So even at this meeting, I had asked the audience how many of them have considered the vasculature of the brain, and from the whole audience, maybe I saw a couple of hands being raised. So the fact that people who are interested in heart or brain or kidney or even lung don't necessarily talk to each other remains a knowledge gap. In addition, most of these researchers are funded by different institutes, and NIH has 27 institutes and centers, as you know. One of them is National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, but people who are interested in pathology of the brain will apply to the National Institute for Neurological Disorders or Stroke, or the National Institute for Kidney Disease. So we all tend to gravitate in different spheres. So at the NIH, we perceive that this is a problem, and several of us got together and we decided to do something about this. So we started a Trans-NIH committee, and we also put together a workshop in which we invited investigators from all these different areas. This took place in 2014. And I invite everybody who wants to see details of the workshop to check the archive video cast. By the way, NIH has a great system where you can see all the meetings that are open to the public. You can just Google NIH video cast and the name of the conference. The name of our conference was Small Blood Vessels, Big Health Problems, ? And you can find all the details. So the main take-home message for anybody who is interested in this area is that we will really look forward to everybody being aware of the importance of small blood vessels. Consider this whenever you do either your research or you see patients in your practice. Help us put together the pieces of this puzzle, and please come back and suggest topics of interest. So I hope that I raised your awareness and interest to the topic, and we would be very interested in hearing from people who would like to engage in this type of research.